Welcome to the Metal Mixtape here on KSKQ 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, 94.1 FM Medford, Oregon, streaming online on kskqdjramo. It's the boy, it's the Don, DJ Ramo. On the line, we have legendary, badass, father, husband, amazing guitar player. We have Richie Faulkner from Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest. What is up?
Brother, that's quite the introduction, man. I don't know if I'm going to keep up with that energy level, bro. I need some more coffee. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here, bro. How are you doing?
Dude, I am so great, man. You know, there is so much to dive in about, man. There's a lot I could relate with you personally on a father level, on just experiences through life. Dude, this new record, Horns for a Halo, I was telling Munzie earlier that, you know, I get like 40 or 50 records, not only from like Munzie, but from like Nuclear Blast and other labels, and this album is badass. I remember walking my son like 3 days ago on his stroller, and just hearing Dead Man Walking as the intro to this album just knocked me off my socks, man. Because
I appreciate that, bro.
Because the amount of guitar work you do in your riffing, like I always like a lot of my favorite guitar players were like the ones who are constantly having a rhythm section, but they're incorporating their leads in their rhythm to create like this amazing rhythm section. You know, like growing up with like Randy Rhoads and just hearing like what he would do and just listening to what you would do to this whole album is just absolutely incredible.
I appreciate that, brother. That means a lot, man. I mean, it's part of my DNA is Randy Rhoads and Zakk Wylde and Tony Iommi and the Priest guys, and there's so many, you know, we'd be here all day if we had to kind of list them all, but it's kind of that approach, you know, the lead, the rhythm is as important, if not sometimes more important than the lead playing. You know, that's what sets the groundwork for most of the track, you know, and so it's got to be energetic, it's got to suit the song, it's got to lay the foundation for the vocals and the bass and the rhythm section. So it's a really important part of the song. It's got to be interesting as well. It's got to, you know, there's a lot of guitar players that went before me, and I feel like I'm carrying the torch in the sense, you know, into the next generation. So I've got a lot to live up to, you know, and it all goes in there. It's part of my musical makeup, bro. So I appreciate those compliments. No,
absolutely, man. And you know, like I said, I have a huge amount of questions I definitely want to ask you today. I'm gonna save Horns for a Halo for the second part of the interview. I want to talk a little bit about you, Richie, just because you're just such a remarkable person, and you know, I feel like in life when you have beautiful things happen to you, it's because, you know, you've put yourself in the correct position, the correct path, and not only that, you know, you stay humble and you have a good work ethic. You know, I just from a fan's perspective, you know, I just want to know, you know, what was the first guitar you ever started playing? And was there a moment in your life where you've really felt like you could do this for like a living? Because, like, you know, playing it as much as you have, playing it in all these projects and playing it at a high level, you have to really love something, you know? You have to really be passionate about it. And I just want to know a little bit about how the guitar chose you, or you chose the guitar.
Well, that's a really interesting question. You're absolutely right on a lot of points there. You really have to love it because it's going to test you in more ways than one. And part of why I think, to answer your question, there was a moment when I realized that, you know, I could maybe do this. I was in a bar in Camden Town in London, and you know, we had a residency there every Sunday from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 1 o'clock in the morning. And I looked up, you know, I was playing, we used to play everything from Santana, Jeff Beck, the Rolling Stones, right the way through to Maiden, Priest, Sabbath, you name it, we played it. And I remember looking up, and you know, I had a few beers and I was getting into what we were playing, and I looked up and the entire place was full up and everyone had their eyes on me. And I remember thinking, I've got them. I've got a chance at this, you know. But to get to that point, you have to go through those moments where it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and you're lifting out, you know, Marshall cabinets and it's freezing cold and there's no one there. But you getting back to your original point, you have to love it, because otherwise you don't do that. You have to play live. That's what I think anyway. You have to be dedicated, and you don't if you didn't love it, you wouldn't be there. Be at 4 o'clock in the morning, carrying out your gear, freezing cold hands, and then you're doing it the next day and the next day because you love it. And then the only way to be that good is to do it that much. And you don't do it that much if you don't love it. You're just throwing the towel. It's too difficult. But it gets difficult. It gets challenging. But you're there the next day because you love it. And I think that's the point you made. You've got to love it. And that's when you know you love it and you're a lifer. Whether you make it in the industry or not. I'd be doing it if I didn't join Judas Priest. I'd be doing it anyway. I'd be down the bar, downtown, playing the same covers because I love it. Humping those, lifting out those Marshall cabinets at 4 a.m. I'd still be doing it because I'm a lifer, and you realise that early on,
Absolutely, Richie. So, you were just talking about how, you were playing, unloading Marshall cabs at 4 a.m. Did you ever have a low point, starting off playing guitar where, like, maybe you had to, like, overcome some adversity where, like, maybe you got in your head and you were just like, Richie, like, snap out of it, like you have what it takes, you just have to keep pushing forward. Was there ever a hurdle before? I mean, you did Judas Priest, before you did Elegant Weapons. Was there a hurdle you had to go past mentally as a musician to just really break through?
There always is, and I think there's always going to be, and there should be. Otherwise you're not making progress. Even today, in terms of you pick up the guitar, sometimes you face challenges, and it was the same back then. You progress to a point where you hit a wall, and you can't get over the wall, and it's that dedication and that passion, whether it's loading Marshall cabinets or musically, you throw yourself at it and you stick to it because of the passion that drives you on. And of course you reach those points. Sometimes you don't want to do it anymore. You can't play a lick, or you can't play something that you want to play. It's in your head, you can't quite reach it, but you stay at it. And yeah, man, I used to get those, and I still do, and I will continue to get those those obstacles. And that's just part of learning your instrument and progressing. Really, you don't stay the same. There's always challenges because you're changing and hopefully getting better as you overcome those obstacles. That's a part of it.
No, I absolutely agree, man. Because with a lot of musicians I talk to, everybody always shares like the same quality that, like, the challenges never stop happening, and just having to overcome things mentally. Like you were saying, like just when you wanted to play something and maybe not necessarily at the time you do it, but persistence, pushes you forward, and just seeing your career, and one thing I did too is that I watched a lot of your live performances. I watched your live performance at the Hall of Fame show with Judas Priest, and you being the age you are, and I couldn't imagine I almost wanted to put myself in your shoes where, like, man, okay, I was this teenager, I'm shredding out guitars, and I'm listening to, like, all these metal gods, because I remember going listening to Judas Priest when I got a DVD, a Live for Vengeance DVD from a yard sale, when I was like 14. Wow. And I'm just like, okay, like, I'm trying to put myself in Richie's head, like how did he actually process this whole situation where he's shredding these pubs, coming out at 4 a.m, then all of a sudden he's playing these magical performances. Is you playing into, like, joining Judas Priest, and did you ever have any nerves playing like these massive stages? Because playing the Hall of Fame, you're playing in front of like rock and roll royalty. You're playing it in front of all these cameras, millions of people around the world. Do you just go out there and crush it, or did you ever have any nerves when you first joined Judas Priest?
Of course, there's some nervous energy going on, but it's when you get the opportunity, when you're being considered for that role, what Judas Priest means to so many people around the globe. I knew that I had a shot, without being arrogant about it. I think that if I was arrogant, the band would have seen it a mile off and I wouldn't have even been there, But I knew that I was confident in the fact that I had a shot at the audition. I was ready. I felt ready for a chance anyway. So I didn't really let nerves get in the way. And it seemed to be the right approach to take, But there's always moments where you get nervous, where it's maybe the start of a tour. And we have, with Priest, we have a tour cycle and an album cycle. So we do an album, and it takes a couple of years to do that, and then we go out on the road. So we haven't been out on the road for a couple of years, and of course that first show is a bit apprehensive and a bit nervous, but it's, again, because you want it to be right, you want it to be good. It's the pursuit of wanting to be 1,000%, because we know what Judas Priest means, and as like you, growing up with bands like that, you know what it means to so many people, and it's a duty to fulfill. You know what you're doing there, you know what it means to be there, and you want it to be right and want it to be good. So that's where the nerves come from. It's a pursuit of, wanting it to be great as it can be. So, it's a healthy thing to be nervous. If you weren't nervous, there'd be something wrong with you, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you joined the band, was there a work ethic that you admired from Judas Priest, that maybe a work ethic that they held you up to, like, a standard? Because I know, like, stories, like, people work with, like, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was, like, a perfectionist. And Judas Priest, I put up there was just with music royalty in general, and just music, icons and gods. Like, when you went in there and you actually had to be in the room with everybody, was there something you admired about what the band does to get ready for shows?
It's fairly relaxed, really. It'll be like me and you getting ready for a show.
Okay.
They're very down to earth in that regard. They like to have fun. We like to joke around. Obviously, the band takes what we do very seriously, but we don't neglect having fun as well. You know what I mean? We have a laugh out there. We know we love what we do. They love what they do for the last over 50 years. So it's a fine balance, really. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We have a laugh, but obviously, as I said, we take what we do. We know what it means. And it's just, when you get into that situation, what it means, and you bring your A game to the table, because you know what Priest means. As I said, it's a duty to fulfill. I was I was stepping in the role of a 40-year legacy, what went before me. And it was up to me to respect that legacy, but also respect myself and do 1,000% for myself as well as what went before, and the fans that have been there for decades. So what that work ethic is and what it means when you join a band like Judas Priest. It's a unwritten rule, really.
No, I love it, man. I love hearing that. And how you were talking about how you guys like to be, you're relaxed, have fun, but you do keep it professional. When I watch your live videos with them, what I really love about it is that they allow you to be yourself, because we know, whether I watch you with Elegant Weapons or with Judas Priest, you always have such a presence about yourself, and I really love how Judas Priest allows you to bloom on your own. Is that something they always told you, was like, Richie, you just go out there and be the badass you are, and just you shred those songs?
Not so many words. Yeah, they used different words in that, but they were quite clear initially. They didn't want a hired gun. They wanted a member of the band and a part of the family. Unfortunately, I was a blonde-haired guitar player that played a flying V, so it was a losing battle from the beginning. I looked like Ken anyway, but and to me, it's a challenge. My biggest challenge is to sound like myself. To me, when I hear myself play guitar, I sound like Michael Schenker and Zakk Wylde and a couple of others rolled into one. So it's a pursuit of mine to sound like my own person. But they were clear. They wanted their own. They wanted someone that was their own person, and they've always let me do my own thing and find out what that is as the journey went on. So they always were clear that they wanted a team player, they wanted a member of the band, they didn't want a hired gun or anything like that. So they were very open about that from day one.
I love it, Richie. I'm going to keep moving on just a little bit. One of the things I've been working on this year is so this year I'm working on my passport, and I'm going to be going to Germany next year to go to Wacken open air. I want you to tell me what do you love about European festivals, especially one like Wacken open air, and what do you think, like, people like me who live in the United States, what they're ready to expect? Because the perspective here of like a lot of musicians in the U.S. is that European festivals is like the mecca of heavy metal. You know, because over there, like, there's just such a higher respect, I feel, for heavy metal. Like, for festivals like Wacken, Hellfest, all those other festivals, what do you love about European festivals like Wacken?
Well, I mean, I would say you've hit the nail on the head, really. You know, in terms of Mecca, I mean, the European festivals really set the stage in terms of what a festival should be, in my opinion. It's really like, you know, with Wacken, Hellfest, festivals like that, it really is like a mini city you go to, you know. And I think, to be honest, you know, the festivals in the States are catching up. You know, they're not doing too badly. They're catching up with the European festivals. Maybe they're taking some cues from the European way of doing things. You know, so they're catching up, which is a great thing. But the European festivals have set the standard for a while now. And it's a magical, you know, season, the European festival season. We just got back with Elegant Weapons. We did some dates out in Europe, and it was just fantastic. You know, it's a different vibe. You know, different countries in general have different vibes, and but Europe is a different vibe in general to the US, and it's an exciting sort of vibe. You know, I find Europe is slightly younger. The audience is slightly younger as well than the States. You know, you get metalheads down there that they look, you know, a lot younger than they are in the States. I don't know if that's just my perception, but I think that's a healthy thing. You know, there will be the next generation of metalheads to come and maybe carry on the torch with generations after them. So that's a healthy thing to see young metalheads out the front. But yeah, as I said, I think the US festivals are catching up, and that's a positive thing to see as we move on into the future.
I love it so much, man. I really love it so much. I got one or two more questions, and then we'll get into Horns for a Halo. One of the things I really admire from you, Richie, is a picture that was going around on the internet of you holding your baby girl. You know, I had my son late January 2020. You know, so I know we could relate on, like, you know, having a child during the pandemic, which is like completely different. You know, because I feel like then, like, your child grows up seeing people with masks for, like, literally, like, a year or two of their lives. But what I really loved, too, was just seeing, like, your picture, you know, with George Lynch, you know, grandfather and, you know, father-in-law, I believe, you know, playing guitar while you're joining in. You know, I've talked to George on, I've interviewed him last year, and I'm actually going to be interviewing George in a couple weeks. He's going to be playing a show here in Oregon. And I'm going to be going backstage and talking to him. That's got to be incredible, man. You know, having George Lynch, like, close to you and in the family, do you guys ever, like, sit down and just, like, have shred battles where you're just, like, trying to teach each other licks? Because during the whole time I was talking to George, I could hear him noodling on his guitar. And I almost feel like maybe it's stuck to his hip and he doesn't know how to put it down. Did you guys ever have, like, any cool, like, interactions playing? And, you know, because I know you guys, you know, it looks like you just have such a beautiful family, but did you guys ever share any moments giving each other advice or just playing the guitar?
Well, there's no advice I can give George Lynch. Let me my
bad.
You know what I mean? George is a legend in his own right, you know. So as far as battles, I mean, there's no battle there, you know. So, but yeah, for sure, when they come over to the house, we always end up in the studio noodling on the guitars and stuff like that. We're huge guitar fans of guitar in general, you know. As we spoke about right at the beginning, you realise that you love this and you love the guitar and everything connected with it. So yeah, we're both the same. We're kind of joined at the hip. We've got the baby on one hand and the guitar in the other. You know, George is the same when he comes over. But massive guitar fans. I'm, you know, a massive fan of his, obviously. And we always end up talking about, you know, what inspires us guitar-wise, or what new stuff we've heard, or new players, or new piece of equipment, or whatever. So yeah, it's always it's like having an older brother, really. That's into the same kind of stuff. He's got a wealth of information as well, you know, going through the experiences that he has and everything he's been through. So it's always great to get that information from him and learn by his mistakes and hear his stories. And it's just it's a trip to be around someone that legendary, you know.
That's great, man. I love hearing that, man. Both of you guys are, like, you know, guitar heroes of mine. So it's beautiful hearing that perspective. Final question before we get into the album is, you know, I feel like you know, when I became a dad, you know, for the first time in 2020, that it really made me like value my time. You know, a lot of people always tell me that, oh, I feel like I could be like I'm busy, but the truth is that I feel like when you have a child, like you tend to value the little time you have, and you really focus on doing your best on that time. You know, and seeing you being like an awesome dad, but then also seeing, you know, what you went through, you know, when you had that aneurysm and everything, you know, because I feel like having a baby or having a close life and death experience really teaches you to value life. Like what are some things that like being like a rock star dad taught you, and also having a situation where you know it, you know, you not want to say you almost lost your life, but like you know, you get a new perspective on how much you care about things.
I hear you. Make sure your will is in order, because you never know. You know, if you're gone, make sure, you know, it's a very real thing. You never know what's around the corner, and it's a very real thing in my case. You know, that Louder Than Life gig we did, I wasn't expecting for 1 second that. I mean, I almost lost my life. A lot of people don't make it to the hospital. You know, they go down, they don't come back up again. So make sure all your stuff's in order if you don't come back, because there's, you know, you got dependents now and stuff like that. So. And also, you know, we do take her out when we can. So she comes out, obviously, when we're on tour in the States. She comes out with us. When we're in Europe, she comes out and she flies on the plane and stuff like that. So she, you know, she's part. We make her a part of it as much as we can. So she gets that education and she sees life that, you know, maybe not everyone sees. So we make her a part of it, you know. So she travels, she gets those experiences, and, you know, good and bad, you know, it's all part of life. But yeah, and just, you never know what's around the corner. So if you've got anything you want to do, family members you haven't seen for a long time that you'd like to see, or if you've got a book you want to write or a song you want to put down, do it, man, because, you know, life's short and no one gets out of it alive. So just make it as big and as colourful as you can before you don't get a chance anymore. And, you know, it might sound a bit morbid, but that's the reality of the situation. And to me, you know, I don't see it as morbid. I see it as live your life to the fullest with the time that we've got here, and that's a really positive thing in my book.
I love it, Richie. That's inspiring, man. Seriously, dude. Just hearing, I just the whole time you were talking about how you take your daughter on with you to all these shows and everything. It's just so awesome, and I love that you have such a positive circle around you that, you know, allows you to, you know, be yourself, be a good person, be a good dad, and just be a good bandmate. It's absolutely killer. But to move things over, because we don't have a whole lot of time, the Horns for a Halo, every song I loved on this album. I listened to this album a couple times. I'm a sucker for slower songs too. You know, when I listen to Ghost of You, I literally wrote like one of my notes was wow, 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 fuck. Was one of my notes on it. You know, I was like, fucking yes, the melody, classical New York style. Like, I'm just having coffee listening to metal. There's so much emotional roller coasters, and what I love too about Elegant Weapons is of course your bandmates Ronnie, Dave, and Christopher. Ronnie Romero is just an animal of a vocalist. Just watching your videos and hearing everything he conducts is absolutely brutal. Dave, of course, his bass tone, you know, basic. Dave's just a legend in his own right, and Christopher. But I just really loved this entire album, you know. There's parts in like songs like Dirty Pig, where the section after 3 minutes and 13 seconds, where like there's just these mind blowing effects to this like vocal and solo build up to the ending of the song. Like, what I really loved about this album is that I felt like you guys didn't slouch on any of the tracks. I felt like any of these tracks could have been a track you guys could have chosen to be a single, because every song had a lot of guitar work, a lot of layers, a lot of great structures, and I didn't feel like you guys didn't rush anything, you know, and especially, you know, I would say my favorite songs is Dead Man Walking and Ghost of You, but tell me how awesome it was to work on this album, especially having these incredible musicians, because on, you know, Horns for a Halo, everything on this song, like, I would tell anybody listening in Oregon or around the world that you have to listen to it from the first track and listen to every second to the 10th track. What did you love about recording this album, and what kind of work you put into it?
Well, first of all, that's very kind of you to say. I mean, when you're putting together a record, any record, you're not quite sure. You do it to the best of your ability, but you don't know how it's going to be received. And, you know, different people might receive it differently. You know, you might get some people that don't like it, some people that do like it, and that's the creative arts for you. You know, if everyone liked the same things, we'd live in a boring world, you know, so not everyone's going to like the same thing. So to hear you say that means a lot, brother. I appreciate that. So, again, you can only get it to a standard that you're comfortable with and you're proud of and you think is strong, and then you let it go on the world. And it goes for the Priest stuff as well, you know. Whatever creative statement you put out there, you let it go, and then it's out of your hands, really, and it's up to the world to like it or not. So you never quite know. You do it to the best of your ability. That's all you can do. The best sounds, the best performance, what you think are the greatest takes, or the best songs, or the best structures, what you think, and it's all subjective. No one's telling you that, you know, what's objectively good. You've just got to guess. But at the end of it, you've got to kind of do what you think is right and what you think is good and that you like to hear, and put it out there and let it go. And then, as I said to you, let the people be the judge. That's all you can do. So it's like letting your kids go out into the world and being their own people. It kind of becomes its own monster, or not, you know. So to hear that feedback from you really means a lot, man, and I really appreciate it. So hopefully more people hear it and they like it, or they even have an opinion, good or bad. That's all you can ask for these days. That people listen to your music and judge it good or bad, and either stick around or they don't. And the ones that stick around, hopefully they're with us for a long time.
Absolutely, Richie. Absolutely, Richie. I know we're running out of time here. I want to, make sure the next journalist has plenty of time to ask his questions, because, you're such a incredible guitar player and musician. If somebody out there only had time, in their lives to listen to one track, and maybe there's one track that you really love that had, like, maybe your favorite riff in it, your favorite solo section, I feel like this album you have to listen from the first track to the ending. But if somebody only had time to, and this is their first time listening to Elegant Weapons, what would be a track you would point them to for Horns for a Halo?
That's really tough, man. I'd say, I don't know, man. I'd say the title track's a good one. It's dark and brooding. It's kind of it's melodic. It's kind of catchy. There's some great vocal work. There's some good guitar work in there. It's a strong track. So I'd say the title track.
I love it, Richie. I love it, Richie. Everybody in Ashland, Oregon, and around the world, we are talking to Richie Faulkner from Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest. Horns for Halo is out now. It came out May 26th. Please check it out. It has amazing musicians with them like Ronnie Romero, Dave Rimmer, Christopher Williams. Last but not least, Richie, before I let you go, can you say this is Richie Faulkner from Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest, and you are listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Hi everyone, this is Richie Faulkner from Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape.
Richie, thank you so much, man. You're inspiring as a guitarist, as a father, as just a human being in general. After I'm done here, I'm gonna start practicing some licks on my guitar and just shred out like crazy. And I'm just gonna go hard. I appreciate your time so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I just hope to see you on the road someday.
You're too kind, brother. Thanks for the support, man. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.